So Ukulele's been out for a few months now, and the consensus is that it's just eh.
Yeah. It's not god awful, but it's not a miracle breaker. It's a bit of a
Yeah,
meh.
it's not Show Knight of an amalgamation of ideas put together, and it's not Mighty Number Nine whose PR team completely shat the bed. It
Yeah.
gave us updates, showed us like it's Banjo Kazooie. Game comes out, and yeah, it's essentially Banjo Kazooie. I enjoy playing a bit part of it, but now it's just I don't know. I don't have an urge to keep coming back to play it. I'm only two worlds in, and just I don't know. I just still rather play the first Banjo Kazooie or play any other game.
Mm.
I'm not saying it's a disappointment. It's just I'm not too sure what I was expecting.
Yeah, I think the problem really, again, with a lot of Kickstarter games is that I think people's expectations goes rocket high because they expect it to be like beyond what you imagined. The predecessor. We're going to go beyond that. And
To be fair, they actually are some things different in Ukulele compared to Banjo,
yeah.
Kazooie, and Tooie. And
Yeah.
Nuts and Bolts. Well, the Nuts and Bolts is its own kind of animal.
I know. It's funny because again, I've been thinking to myself with everything going on with Ukulele. It's strange because a lot of the complaints people have, I did think to myself, they didn't have that in Nuts and Bolts. In terms of the areas are too big. Well, you didn't have that problem in Nuts and Bolts. You didn't know where to get all the feather things. We didn't have it in Nuts and Bolts. A lot of it is. I know it sounds
The
like
areas are big. It's just the most part there's fuck all in it.
I know.
It's a Sonic 06 hub world problem.
I know. Again, part of me just feels a little annoyed, and don't worry, we'll get to the thing. But everything that happens with Ukulele, because obviously the intent is we're trying to emulate as much as Banjo One and Tooie as much as we can.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's essentially remember this. Well, here it is for a modern console.
Yeah, but if my only problem I have, and I haven't played the game, but again, my consent is that it feels like all the stuff they did in Nuts and Bolts, which arguably did help the game maybe a little better to play, easier and stuff. They didn't take that in to making Ukulele, and I feel that's part of the problem here is that they really didn't take any of the lessons. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but the consent was, they don't want that. They hate everything we did in Nuts and Bolts, so let's just ignore that and just go into this being, Banjo again. All the faults and all.
If this was released back in, what was it, 2001, 2002, when the GameCube was riding high, well, I say riding high, it was a better, it was a better console compared to the Xbox in terms of what games it had, but still.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
if it came out then, it would be good. But right now, it's just like we've gone back at least 20 years.
I know, and most people's attitude is basically we wanted the 3D collectathon back, and now everybody's going, actually, we don't want it back. But anyway, past that argument, let's talk about new developments.
New developments is that the Ukulele is going to get a major update to fix a few things, and I will say a few of these things should have been in the initial fucking release. I'm going to quote Jim Sterling, is that developers shouldn't release a game and fix it later, or release a game and just add in the stuff later we forgot to do because we have a deadline. This was an indie developed game. If these were the ideas that you should have had in the original, you had but didn't put in the initial game, what's the fucking point of releasing it? You could have delayed it again. I don't care. At least then it wasn't a fucking. Yeah, I don't know. It's just. It would have become a right number 9 because you didn't release a fucking trailer telling you can actually make make the enemies cry like an anime fan on prom night.
Yeah, well, then again, we got a rap from Ukulele, which there you go.
We got a what?
We got a rap video, like Donkey Kong 64.
Oh yeah, the ukulele rap.
Yeah, so because the world needed that.
Well, it's the original Rare team, not the not the Connect focused Rare.
Yeah, well, technically that's now dead. They're all focused on Sea of Thieves, so Rare's not dead.
Playtonic is the new Rare. But anyway, this is called the Ukulele Spit and Polish update.
Puns.
Well, this is, like I said, this is the Rare that people remember.
It's the team that made those type of games.
Yeah, a lot of these, like I said, a lot of these update. You got a list of updates as well. I've sent them to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's as follows: brand new pause menu music should have been in the original release. New optional camera mode with minimal assist. Yeah, I never had a problem with the camera. So sometimes all of a sudden I'm walking in a direction, all of a sudden the camera just hit this. I've walked off the platform several times, but
I do know
that was against a boss fight because the camera's meant to face a specific direction to help you.
Yeah,
But
I was going to say,
once you move away from that area, all of a sudden the camera reverts back into its position you had it before. So I'm trying to walk to the boss fight, and all of a sudden I fall off the edge because I'm holding forward. It's like Resident Evil tank controller.
it's
Bullshit.
doing that whole reversing everything because the camera angles now changed.
Yeah. So that's much better. Pages have added signposts to Ivory Tower to help guide players to New World. Should have been the original fucking release because I am getting lost in that damn place. At least I've opened up. There are some like shortcuts you can take to new areas. It's just it should have been initially design tweaks to all arcade games. So I'm guessing that makes them easier or the controls are better.
Or bear through to some players.
Yeah, because there was a racing one. I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
Speed improvement to scrolling through totals menu. I'd have a problem with that. New option for shorter gibberish voice in sound effects. I don't know why people are complaining about that, considering that's the charm of Banjo-Kazooie.
Well, it's the charm, and then you realise hearing the same 3 or 4 over and over and over and over and over again, which again, nuts and bolts didn't have that problem.
No, because instead of going, when you speed up, it just cut out the voice entirely. So yeah, that should have been the initial fucking release.
I know, but like I said, to just have that 4 pieces, of and just speed it up a bit, that's going to drive you insane.
New speech volume option, which should have been the initial release.
You turn off. I think most people just off.
New ability to speed through dialogue by holding Y should have been the initial fucking release. Cutscenes can now be skipped with Y, which should have been the initial fucking release, because the amount of times people load up the game and watch the Platonic logo walk off the screen by a pair of eyes that can use objects as bodies, it's a good idea.
Yeah, well, the whole game promised, googly eyes on everything.
Pretty much. But just watching that little cutscene of the Platonic logo, that should have been able to be skippable. That takes like 30 seconds of your time. It's like, it's cute the first couple of times, but after that, it's pretty much kind of skip it so I can play the damn game. New move section added to the pause menu with image guide should have been the initial fucking release. Camera design improvements throughout the game with less scripted cameras. Door cams now appear behind the player, which should have been the initial fucking idea. I mean, it's kind of when it's the first new area and you swing around and you show the new area, fine. When it's a returning area behind the fucking character. Gex did that and he did it well.
Right.
Yes, I'm comparing Yooka Laylee to Gex.
Well, they're both lizards in some form.
Oh, one's a chameleon and one's a gecko.
Yeah, so there you go.
Restart option added in the pause menu during arcade games and Kratos challenges. If you actually.
So basically, you don't have to fail and have to start all over again just to kill yourself.
I restarted. I had to fail a challenge 4 times while I got it fucking right.
Right. Oh god, that's like. I have to kill myself in order to start again.
At least it's actually more better than. I know it's like it's either you have to fail first or you do anything, or it's something that shouldn't be restartable, like the special stages in Sonic 4 Episode 2. Those shouldn't be. You shouldn't be able in those levels. You should not be able to pause the game and restart the entire fucking stage. Special stages are meant to be bonus challenges.
Yeah.
Too bad it could be in the first game, but it would have made that easier.
Yeah, well, that's another. We already talked about that one time ago.
Sonarable, because Laylee actually has an ability to actually send out like a sonar wave to activate stuff.
Yeah.
Those sonarable objects are now a more clear visual identity because they're not exactly hidden. It's just they look like totem pole Easter Island heads that are asleep. It's kind of hard to miss them, but at least there'd be a lot more. I don't know, give them a purple glow or something to say,
yeah, just give them a highlight around the edge, and then people can know what the hell it is.
Laser move no longer requires players to crouch. I haven't got that far yet, but I don't understand why they're being able to crouch after you fire a laser should be that fucking technical. The minecart control improvements and new visual effects.
Oh, I bet that's going to make a lot of people happy.
Mm-hmm. Transformation controls improvements. The first transformation you have is being put above you, turn into a plant with a springy stem.
Yes.
That was a pain in the ass to control. Not because it was bad control.
Hopping most of the time?
Yeah, you're hopping most of the time and you have a pathetically weak jump.
Right.
And for one of the challenges, you have to jump up. You have to jump up on these little platforms or jump up into little plant pots. It's a pain in the ass because you need to get it fucking pixel perfect. That was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Improved first-person aiming controls. Yes, much needed. New first-person aiming control options added. Which, if you're going to do a first-person mode, you might as well have first-person controls. It's like back in the early 2000s and late 80s. Fine, you can have shitty first-person controls because it wasn't actually, a mandatory kind of thing. It's just no one.
I do remember how
it wasn't until Halo came. I was like, "This is how you do first-person controls."
Yeah, all I'll say is that I do remember how they did it in Banjo-Tooie, and that made me want to slit my throat.
Improved flying controls. Haven't reached that far yet, but I dread to think what they're like. When transformed, collecting butterflies now restores energy. Why the hell wasn't that included in the initial release, guys?
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking that.
Yeah. Hunter Tonic now tracks the last 30 quills and casino tokens, in addition to the health and power extenders, who also whistle at the location of the closest rare collectible. It should. If you're going to have the tonic that actually being able to actually find the rare collectibles, why the fuck does it not do that? Health UI is now always visible when low, like in Banjo-Kazooie. Should have been a fucking first day release thing. Design tweaks in various areas, Black Hole in Wong, Lumi Grand Grotto, etc. So I'm guessing this is a bit of aesthetics and basic.
Probably just more like figuring out where you need to go. I mean, that's...
New icons added for keyboard and mouse controls. Again, if you're going to do a PC game, it should have been initial release. But then again, I don't know anyone who actually plays a third person or a adventure game with a fucking keyboard anyway. I tried playing Sonic Adventure with keyboard and mouse. It's not fucking possible.
No, I was going to say, I mean, most games these days, they always seem to still have the console UI controls on screen rather than saying,
because it's second nature. It's like I'm going to get sidetracked, but it's like RTS, MOBAs, MMOs, and first person. The actual keyboard and mouse controls, they work for it because they're designed around that control scheme.
Yeah.
Third person adventure games like the Batman, but Yooka Laylee, or even 2D side scrollers like Super Meat Boy and Shovel Knight, are designed with a controller in mind. So
I think it's the case. Sorry, I was going to say. I think it's the case of just simply, do we want to put this extra effort of putting in just, changing it instead of press A, which is the X button control, to press space because you're actually playing on the keyboard.
Yeah. So if people don't have one and they're used to playing platformers and whatnot with a keyboard and mouse, fine, go at it. And it'll be easier to tell which buttons to press. You can actually rebound the keys. Yeah. But like I said, there's very I guess it's an improvement, but at the same time, it's like these games were designed with console controllers in mind. Improved Rampo boss fight, which is the first world boss fight. Pain in the ass. I've already beat him now.
Yeah, though I have heard of that. It's apparently one trick you're supposed to do is that you can stand still when you're doing the use ukulele.
Yeah, the rolling technique. You can stand still. Yeah, I didn't know you could. I didn't know you could stand still. I didn't know you could jump for quite a while.
Oh God!
Because it doesn't say. It just says hold down R2 to perform the Yooka roll. I was like, okay, can I stand still? No, it doesn't tell you can stand still. It doesn't tell you can jump either.
Yeah, it's like, well, you figure it out, player.
I like the ability to figure out stuff on my own, but I don't know. I think we're just complacent now with if you get a new move, it tells you the controls once, and then you have to remember them next time you play it. Rather than going to the manual or the in-game glossary.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most games, well, let's be fair, nobody has a manual these days, no physical manuals.
No, it's all online.
No, it's literally, open. I've literally got driver's license, and literally say, to understand controls, play games. Like, oh, bloody hell.
Added PC to play settings for the in-game pause menu. Again, if you do a PC release, it should have been a fucking first day thing. performance improvements and audio improvements are the last two, performance could be frame loss and textures, and the audio could be what pops in, pops out, and whether or not it goes quiet.
Yeah, I do know Digital Foundry. It's actually a really good YouTube channel which actually does a lot of how games when they come out, how good the technical support is, and they did a whole thing about Yooka Laylee on all the consoles, and they did say I think they said stuff like the PC version is obviously best preferred, the PS4 version is okay, and the Xbox One I think is the one that's the most weak. It's the weakest out of the one. I do know one particular issue they brought up is when you're in the first area, the sort of the jungle, you go with that giant temple thing. Yeah. And you get flamethrowers bursting out. They did point out it's if you turn the camera around, it does slow the frame rate down. Although it's not enough to crash the game, but it's a significant little thing you could spot. And I think it's to do with again, it's about whenever you do these type of things in games.
Well, I will say it is a fantastic looking game.
Yeah. I'm just saying this is probably more like an effects thing. Whenever they do stuff enemies, projectiles, smoke, water, that type of stuff.
It's when it's a lot of artifacts that come on the screen. Even the most powerful systems will have a bit of slowdown because it's trying to render everything as it's meant to do.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But also in this update, which considering I didn't buy the game, I'll download the game because I wanted it. Because it's oh hey, I'm curious. I actually backed this game.
Yeah, you did.
So. With this, we also got a Switch version coming out, and they have a little image showing it right now of Yooka Laylee running on the Switch console undocked.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the game actually on the screen, not superimposed. Then again, I don't know.
I've seen a funny Twitter post. So sidetracked again, but it's basically how to make a E3 League look convincing. It's basically. It gives a picture of a Nintendo Switch console with the Joy-Cons, and it was a fake image of Metroid Prime 4. How to make it convincing. Go to motion blur and make it kind of shaky, like someone quickly took a picture.
Yeah, I mean we've seen that for many years. Hell, remember when they did that with Rayman or Crash being in the Smash games? Oh god.
Yeah, how to make it convincing and make it superimposed and convincing. You just make it blurry.
Yeah, so they can never tell the little trick you did.
But
then again, it's interesting you talk about this because this is for the PC first, and Playtonics obviously they made the game for PC first, and then the console versions were handled by Team 17.
Especially the retail release as well.
Yeah, again, they were the ones who actually helped push that. Again, I'm kind of interested to know, you just spilled this whole thing. I mean, most of the changes here, most of them, would you say, from your opinion, these are you just kept saying over and over again that they should have been in day one.
At least a quarter or maybe a third of these should have been included in the game day one. There was certain objects and safe, where is it? It was on here. Health UI is now always visible when low. I've died several times not knowing my fucking health was low.
Right.
Banjo-Kazooie, the first Banjo-Kazooie from 1999, I think. No, 98.
Yeah.
98?
98.
I don't fucking remember, but it's the late fucking 80s. The first full-on collectathon. I know Mario 64 came up in 1996, but fuck it.
Yeah.
That's a mission-based collectathon. It's just go into a world, have fun.
Yeah, here's a lot of stuff to pick up. Go get them, boys.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They had their health be visible when low. You're 2 to 3 hits left. It's there. It should be fucking common knowledge. Is my health low? I don't know. Should I pause the game? I don't want to. I'm enjoying myself too much. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. I'm kind of curious because, again, I've heard a lot of opinions and reviews of this stuff. I remember watching one from a guy who used to be Happy Video Game Nerd. Now he's turned his channel into Stop Skeletons from Fighting Back. And
Just stop skeletons from fighting.
That's it. That's the one. He did a review of this, particularly the video is saying Yooka Laylee is a bad game, which he did point out is there's a lot of things here that you feel okay, they did this before. Why was it so difficult to do it again? In the same way, when we talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, people like to say, why can't Sonic Team do this when they did it 10 years ago? And I think one of the problems again with this whole thing is, as much as Yooka Laylee has been a success on Kickstarter, you have to remind yourself this is still relatively a low budget game compared to. Like I said, compared to Nuts and Bolts, that is a high-end product. They probably spend so many years, money into, obviously refining it, getting it working, making the frame rate doable, because I know that sort of chugged up a few times. But again, there was so much money and time and resources put into that game. as compared to Yooka Laylee, which is, yeah, it's got a modest budget, but it's nowhere near the levels of like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, or even MGS5 in comparison.
Or Destiny, they cost 1 billion to make.
Exactly, yeah, no, Destiny had $500 million in advertisement.
No, it was half a billion. I mean, it was $500 million to make. It is the most. GTA 5 is still the most expensive one to make. It's just GTA 5 raked in $1 billion. It's the only game to do that.
Yeah, but like I said, it's a lot to make games these days, and even with this stuff, you're gonna have to. Again, I think this is the problem: is the ambitions of it is like, yeah, the ambition is high, but it's like, what is achievable with the budget they have, even with it succeeding whatever they started out with. And again, I'm interested to know exactly how much of this is Blaytonics knowing that they wanted to get the game out as best they can, or in a playable state that they feel was maybe they. Again, I'm not sure who's. Again, the argument is who you put the finger to. Is it them or is it Team 17? I'm not sure. I mean, again, I don't have a feeling that they did this to piss people off on purpose.
No,
absolutely not.
They're not Activision.
Yeah, they're not Activision. They're not saying DL's 1 day patch DLC, pay up now type deal, because that's just ridiculous.
No, that's 2K.
Okay, but I'm just saying that type of stuff. They haven't done that thing. But again, it's just the case of it's still a small company trying to make a pretty ambitious game, even with Team 17, who, again, they're a small company as well. I mean, they've only just started getting back into publishing deals. And again, you don't know whether this is always going to work out or not. And I think that's always the big problem. And like you said, Yooka Laylee's biggest game was this is banking on nostalgia of this is going to be the classic rare-like collectathon game that remember. But part of the problem with that is like, well, you remembered it, but do you also remember all the crap bits that were in there? Because they're going to shine out in here if you know where to look.
But still, people may be disappointed, but at the end of the day, they delivered what they were going to say. Does it return to what Banjo-Kazooie was? And essentially, this is, for all intents and purposes, this is Banjo 3E.
Yeah, in many ways. I mean, again, like all the other games are like Mighty Number 9. They're kind of he's the off-branded version of that game, but if done right, it can work.
Yeah, at least.
And again,
at least Yooka Laylee campaign didn't actually say promise to have limited edition boxes that look like the classic NES games. Then all of a sudden now, oh hey, Deep Soul's making retail versions. It's like, okay, can I swap out my box copy for an actual retail copy? No, you have to pay up like everyone else does.
Yeah. But then again, it's interesting because, again, I'm kind of curious exactly what the future of this whole thing is, because I know the idea with Playtonics is that this is meant to be like the beginning of maybe future sequels or some of the other characters getting their own game. So I am interested to know how far down the line, really, like in a year or so now, we're going to consider this, as whether we consider this a hit or a miss, really.
For me, it's like it's not really a hit, but at least a successful indie game.
Yeah,
like it's not Shovel Knight or Undertale. It's not that. I mean, it's not that.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm curious for this whole thing because, again, you've actually got to play it. You're a backer, and obviously, I'm just curious for you. Do you, as the thing is itself, as it's in its own 2 feet, you said it is a fun game, but there's not really enough to make you want to come back to it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I barely back the minimum required just to me to get a digital copy. I didn't care about them, even though I enjoyed Banjo-Kazooie and I enjoyed collectathons, what they are, especially the original Spyro trilogy.
Yeah.
But I just wanted the game. I was interested in it. It's like, this is right in my cup of tea. I love platformers. They're my go-to genre. I want to get this. If I could have backed Shovel Knight, I would have backed Shovel Knight. I didn't back Mighty Number 9 because even then I would have if I actually had any money at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a shit game. It doesn't brick the system. It didn't have a PR nightmare.
No.
But it came out. It's basically Banjo-Kazooie, and that's all it's trying to be. That's pretty much Devil's Advocate or something.
Yeah,
I know. It's like it's not.
It's sort of in the middle. Sort of caught in the middle, really. It's trying to do one thing and another thing at the same time. And it's kind of where does it go from there?
Stand on its own 2 feet, while they're still being chained to the original property.
Yeah, or at least doing, again, ironically, I think Yahtzee said this. It's ironic with these type of games. Saying that this is like Castlevania, like Mega Man, like Banjo-Kazooie. And it's like to a point. It's like, how far can you go?
It is. basically.
I know, but how far do you go before then the copyright claim police come out? Hang on a minute, do you own this property? It's like, no.
It's like, I don't know, like Freedom Planet is like a game I can come back to anytime.
Mm.
And that was originally a Sonic fan game. It still feels like a Sonic game.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, Freedom Planet 2 is pulling away from that, even if it still has a few elements.
Yeah.
So, again, I hope these changes hopefully make the game a bit more beefier and stand on its own 2 feet rather than being shackled.
Yeah.
Again, they should have been included in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, these updates will be deploying later this month on PC, followed shortly to the consoles. We're not too sure how long it'll take.
Again, yeah.
So I better start trudging along and trying to complete this son of a bitch, then play it again.
I was going to say, because I was just exactly how many of these improvements you'll see before the game's actually you get to finish.
Yeah, it's unlike me with Sonic Boom, I played the entire game post-patch.
Yeah.
So I didn't experience the shit.
Yeah, you didn't experience I'm just going to skip the game by just pausing all the time. Ha-ha!
It's a speed run. I did it in less than an hour. That's not a speed run. You broke the game. I don't give a shit whether or not it was the intention or not. You play through the fucking son of a bitch.
No, I was like, no, it's kind of, put it this way, who exactly in the development scene of Breath of the Wild figured out a way, I know a quick way how you can skip the entirety of Breath of the Wild by just doing this one button mashing thing again. It's like, I don't think that's the intent we want to have the game out. It's like,
or Prey 2017, where you can actually beat the game in 20 minutes.
Exactly, yes.
Legitimately beat the game in 20 minutes.
I know, it's basically, a lot of the times it's not the developers want, it's basically what the player tries to exploit and then see what they can do with it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I will also say, if the post-patch, if the patch of Sonic Boom was what the game was originally intended to be, then that's pretty much what I'm going to go with.
Hmm.
With this update, it seems like half of it is like what we originally intended, and the other half is basically we're fixing the complaints.
Yeah. I'll end my saying with these two little things. I mean, first of all, again, I definitely think what they've done with Yooka Laylee, for all its foibles and whatever, it's an interesting start, and arguably it's something that I would love them to see if they did get a chance to do another one of these, I would love them to improve or add on to what they've already started with this game. And secondly, the other funny enough, I was replaying Nuts and Bolts the other day, and I was in the Lockbox 2720 area, in which there's a little gag where they have some of their old games, and there's actually on the CD written on it. Like, one of them did talk about, like, Banjo-Kazooie, the famous game, blah, 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 and he actually had a little saying that, I wonder if Nuts and Bolts will be remembered any given time. And he said, come back in 2018. So,
we're not that close, but hey, we grinded got another one.
I know, just saying, wait until. So technically, we're going to wait one more year to consider whether Nuts and Bolts was a good or a bad idea. But hey, that's rare for you.
Well, that happened 2018 minutes after release.
Yeah, so the rare magic is still there, even if it's in a game that nobody likes.